Hello, and welcome to Grug Gaming, and welcome back to our playthrough of Dominions 4. If you remember in our last episode, we continued to take one step forward and two steps back. Our army fighting Helheim in their capital was soundly defeated when we tried to storm their castle. In the north, we have finally turned things around. Using a vast army of mages, we have defeated an enemy god and begun to push them back off of our continent. I've come up with some plans to help us continue to win this war in the north. And I have a plan that will hopefully see us win our battle against Helheim and eventually Abyssia. For the battle in the north, if you remember, our setup of communion masters and communion slaves did not work properly. They didn't cast the spells we wanted them to. After looking into things, I can't decide or discover where the issue lied. So instead of attempting to figure out this arcane magic, we have come up with a different plan. Back home in our capital, and other places where we have mages, I am having them create fire in a jar. Fire in a jar is a magic item that we can give to each of our mages. It acts as though they had a magic fire gem with them on the battlefield, allowing them to use that fire gem to cast a spell more powerful than they would normally be able to. What we'll be able to do is let them use that gem produced by the fire in a jar to cast the spell Phoenix Power. This will raise their magic level to the power of 2, allowing them to cast the more powerful fire spells. So we cast a specific spell, Phoenix Power. Spell enables the mage to cast more powerful fire spells, fire magic bonus 1, and also grants resistance to fire. That will help us, of course, when we're fighting Abyssia later on. Once we cast that, we'll then be able to cast spells like Flame Bolt and Fireball. I have already set up our turn to move some of our priests back down to regroup with the southern army, and to take this split-off army left over from our assault on the castle in Helheim to regroup with our mages in the north and set up a defensive bulwark against the nation of Baratos. So let's go ahead and end the turn to let that advance. Some unexpected events. In the Iron Peaks, it looks like people have been disappearing in the area around the highlands. Possibly the hills have eyes. Unrest +5, population -40. Not a big issue for us because of all the order and growth that our god scales add to our nation. In Gwerth, our southern castle, playful winds have been captured, distilled into diamonds, and transported to our laboratory by our mages. +8 air gems, we've had that happen before. And we continue to cure 2 battle afflictions, where we have all of our priests together, along with Cornelius. Oh, not Cornelius. Where is our healer that's doing all this wonderful work? There we go. Innocentus, the primate, continues to heal our troops in this territory. I'm going to take all these troops, and we're going to have them continue to regroup here with the mages. And now, you'll see if we go to our magic item treasury, we have all of these jars of fire. While we're in here, let's look at some other magic items we've picked up along the way so far. We have some staffs, Scepters of Authority. These add 25 command to any commander holding them, and let that commander cast fire spells. We have an Eye Pendant. What this does is it's set with the enchanted eye agates. The stones are powerful charms against Labushtu, the disease demon, but will also grant its wearer enhanced awareness and will warn him of impending danger. The wearer can cure diseased soldiers. The wearer can also be protected by twice as many bodyguards as usual during assassination attempts. Since this adds the ability to heal, we're going to put it on one of our commanders. We have an enchanted pike. In close combat, allows someone to do some magic damage. And we have a Sword of Sharpness, again, allows us to do magic damage in close combat. These two items not that effective for us. This is really going to help though. So, once these units regroup over here, we'll be able to march north. First, I want to take, we'll take Tarkon. He is one of our hero units, if you remember. He has heroic battle prowess. And I'm going to go ahead and give him the pendant once he moves into this territory, because we have a laboratory here that will allow him to access the magical item treasury of our nation. So we'll let him move north. Now we have all of these mages who were creating those fire jars last term. We need them to all go back to researching. So let's make sure we do that. There we go. Alright, now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and end the turn once more. Another unexpected event in Kolar Megor. The forest has expanded unnaturally, encroaching on arable land. People have been forced to move. 140 people left, and a province income of -3. This means that there might be some type of unknown magic creature about to spawn here we want to be careful about. It looks like we forgot to move Atticus because, well, we just didn't have him selected. Rather embarrassing. So here, where we have all of our troops, let's find our hero, Tarkon, and we're going to give him that magic necklace. And you can see that's made him a disease healer of 1, and given him a patrol bonus against sneaking creatures in this area. It'll also help reduce unrest in that territory as well. Now we have all of our mages, and I'm going to rearrange them with the fire jars so that we can advance north in just a moment. Here in the south, some of these priests have moved south for us. We're going to have them regroup with this large army. So let's go ahead and set this army up to march. I'm going to give some of these to each general. And I think we just need to give a couple to our prophet, just to act as a bodyguard, in case anything were to happen. Let's go ahead and spread out. Our standards. Alright, and let's set these units into just 2 large blocks of infantry. Actually, because we're going to be fighting the undead most likely, and they can stand up against us and may start to drain our morale, I'm going to split these into several different troops, so that if one set of troops were to flee, because it was taking them so long to fight the undead, we won't see that cause the entire army to fall apart. Make sure we've got a battle standard in each one of these groups. I kind of like that. So we'll go ahead and set these up in a small battle formation. I'm not going to put them in the line formation because we need all the morale we can get. Alright, and we want these units to go ahead and attack the closest enemy. The reason I want them to move right away in the battle is that I don't want to give the enemy any extra turns to sit back behind their army and summon more and more undead before we can get to the mages. I really wish we had some flying units that we could send behind enemy lines to attack those mages. If you remember, as soon as we got into combat with Ner'zhul, for example, we wiped him out very quickly. And I would love to be able to do that, but I just don't think we have any flying troops available that I'm aware of. Now, with this army, we're going to want to send some mages of our own. So let's go ahead and take some of those jars of fire and spread them out among this army in the south as well. I think if we give 5 of these mages, let's make it 6, just so we have a round number. The Jar of Fire. Then we'll have them cast a specific spell, Phoenix Power, and then we will have them cast. Do we want to cast Fireball or Fire Blast? Let's look at the two. Or Flame Bolt. So Flame Bolt does 22 damage, 40 range. Fire Blast is our area of effect, only range 5. We'd have to get very close. I don't want to do that. Fireball, less range, less damage, but also does an area of heat shock. Now, if you remember, when our troops were in battle, we were hitting them with their own fireballs, so I want to use the Flame Bolt over and over again. There we go. And then just cast spells in the back. I don't want to conserve our magic gems. I want them to go ahead and use it. We're going to take that set of magical orders and give it to our first 6 mages here. Alright, I think we're ready for this army to move. Oh, almost forgot to tell our commanders what we want them to do in the battle. And of course, what we want them to do is to hang back behind the troops and not get involved. So let's grab those first 6 mages. Our prophet as well. And on our prophet, we're going to go ahead and tell him that we want him to cast spells as well. Alright, we're ready to have that army move. We're going to be regrouping in the north and performing the same kind of distribution of fire jars here to give us that spell ability. We'll be picking up these priests and taking more of these provinces away from Helheim, weakening them even farther. And we will continue to remember to continue to cast Clockwork Horrors to build up our army of undead and clockwork creatures that we don't have to worry about fleeing if we need them as well. So we'll be continuing this battle and our strategy in the next episode of Dominions 4 on Gaming with Grug. Thanks very much for watching, folks. We'll see you then.